Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Rodgers and Brown celebrate a double. Caixinha raises a glass with McInnes. Cathro plays down bust up with Johnson. Yeah, that's just a few of the talking points. Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin, will be discussing with our Friday night boot room guest, as ever. He's our favourite. Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail joins us to talk football, and we're getting ready for an interesting weekend at the bottom end of the Premiership as well. Just before we talk about that and discuss that double award win at Celtic, let's look at the papers. Some interesting back pages. Lovers Griff. This is, of course, Lee Griffiths having a little tete-a-tete with the manager, Brendan Rodgers, who had to remind him it's a team game and not about individuals. And there's a little sidebar there. Pedro and McInnes make up after a glass of Portuguese wine. And Scott MacDonald leaving Motherwell. As far as the Sun is concerned, it continues with the spat that was going on between Caixinha and McInnes. Dell just wanted my job, and confirmation there. Bruno Alves could be on his way to Rangers as Caixinha's first signing. And there's the Partick Thistle 0 Celtic 5 scoreline from last night's game, where Celtic were again in scintillating form. And the Mail, just expanding on that story with Rodgers, the spat with Griffiths is over, insists the Celtic manager. And again, a little reference to McInnes and Pedro Caixinha. So it all seems to be over between Caixinha and Derek McInnes, which I think is a good thing. It's amazing what a bottle of Portuguese wine can do, Ruffy. I think I should bring it into the studio for you and me, because there's a little edge, there's a tension today in the studio. Yeah,
that I get confused with the whole story of the two of them. You know, I don't know what to believe. I mean, I keep hearing somebody saying something, somebody saying something else, and I don't know.
Well, what do you not believe?
Well, he said I'm not offering them into my office for a drink. He never offered it to mine, and now they did. They seem to have had a drink.
I know, but managers are economical with the truth sometimes, Ruffy. There's a better way of saying it.
And did he say that about Derek?
What?
You wanted my job.
Well, I think he probably would have said it in some fashion, but they picked up on it and expanded on it. We've done that before here.
Oh, he said it. He said it now. Anyway, I think it's just good fun. I love all that stuff. I love all the follow. You know, people always say it in football. Oh, we don't. You know, two players are fighting on the pitch with a teammate or something, and people say, oh, we don't want to see that in football. I'm shouting, yes, I do. I love a good spat.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Ruffy was telling people off last week he didn't want that to go on, and I'm thinking, just shut down our industry then if nobody has a disagreement. I mean, do people really go to Formula One to see the cars all zipping round carefully? They don't. They want a bit of action, a bit of, wheel to wheel.
Exactly. The thing yesterday, one of the great talking points yesterday from the Celtic game was the Griffiths incident. You know, Griffiths taking a huff, going off. I thought it was a very interesting incident as well, because at one point you were thinking he was, as he was sitting down, and said, "You've just done yourself out of a cup final place, young man."
Yeah.
I mean, I think Rodgers handled it very, very cleverly. You know, coming onto the park in front of the fans, the wee kiss, and then his post-match was exemplary, just saying, the guy's a lovely guy and it's all gone and past. But I'll tell you one thing, if I think if Dembele, they're talking about Dembele being in training at the moment, and Dembele's his starter, Dembele's his number 9, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So people have spats. I think they've made up. It's not healthy when the two managers are having a go at this one. I think, to be fair, at the end of it all, I think Derek McInnes comes out of it better because his players stepped up to the plate and won the match.
Well, that decides everything. I mean, you can the whole thing. This is all the stuff surrounding the match. The actual match is that, and this might suit Caixinha to deflect from. And that was Aberdeen's first win there since the ball was round. It was like it goes back to almost Fergie time. It's 1990. It goes back to, so that it's an indication of the work to be done there. I mean, I think there's also prickliness about the Ryan Jack situation between the two clubs. I think the jungle drums are saying that that's all a bit done, and that Jack's going to Ibrox. That seems to be the way of it. So there's lots of little tensions there going on at the moment. So it makes for interesting reading.
Yeah, what's your view, Hugh? The Dave King story was interesting over the last 24 hours, just suggesting that all the money that's taken in from the season tickets will go to, purchasing players. I still think there needs to be more for Rangers fans to see from this. I mean, Bruno Alves, 35-year-old, could be on his way. I can understand him. I suggested to you months ago that he would bring in his own type of player from his own country, and maybe a few that had played, under him at Qatar as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think the astonishing thing about the Rangers story is that the commitment of the supporters again. One thing that's been constant at Rangers through since the financial meltdown, and is that the fans have literally bought into the club by buying season tickets. They're already talking about over 30,000 sold at the moment. Hopefully the 43,000 going. So that's great. So you've got to say that first of all. The fans have put their hands in their pockets in that manner. I think though it's going to take. I think it's going to take an awful lot of money to bridge the gap. I mean, I think that. Unless Caixinha has the magical qualities that Brendan Rodgers has in transforming players who are already there into top-class unit, Rangers have a long struggle in front of them.
Well, I think realistically next season, Ruffy, the progress for Rangers should be trying to cut the gap and the deficit in points and maybe, looking at a cup. Is that fair? Yeah. Is that too much or is that too little?
No, I thought that's what the target was this year. I thought the target was hanging on to Celtic and winning a cup, but that never materialised. When we listened to Warburton early on, we were led to believe that was a chance that was going to happen, and the Rangers supporters all believed that it was going to happen, but it never. So I agree with you. I think next year is all about maybe taking 10 or 15 points off of the points difference just now and a good cup run, and then try and overtake Aberdeen and get away from St Johnstone.
Yeah, we'll talk and hear from Brendan Rodgers later on in the programme about that double award today. Of course, he was voted the sponsors, Ladbrokes Manager of the Year, and Scott Brown picked up the Player of the Year award. So we'll hear from the Celtic manager on that. As far as last night is concerned, just reflecting on the scoreline, they're 2 away now from becoming the Invincibles for the season, Hugh MacDonald, and it was scintillating to watch them at times. I mean, they just played Partick Thistle off the park.
Yeah, and a good Thistle side. I've watched Thistle quite a lot this season, and I've been impressed with them. Even in some of the defeats I've watched them, but they were just completely and utterly outclassed. Roberts, I mean, if you set up, we're talking about season ticket money, if you set up a share subscription at the moment among Celtic fans to buy a stake in Roberts to stay at Celtic, I think it would be oversubscribed. I mean, he's just incredible. He just looks like. And the strange thing is, while you're saying he's incredible, you're saying to yourself, I don't think he'll get a game at Man City, because Sané, De Bruyne, Silva, Aguero, he's not getting into that three.
Well, the two big questions for Patrick Roberts, he goes back and he asks Pep Guardiola, what are the odds of me getting any sniff of first team football? If he says no, then the next part for Patrick Roberts is to say, the same question as Jason Denninger. Do I want to go back and maybe play Champions League group stage with Celtic, or do I then want to go and join another club in England to get a different kind of experience, Ruffy? And that's the boy's big dilemma.
I think the biggest dilemma for him is, if he comes back to Celtic, he's not going to be a regular just now. He's not going to be he's not going to be in that 11. He's still going to be just coming in whenever needed. If Dembele's fit, I don't think he's going to squeeze. I think James Forrest is well up in the manager's rating, but we've saw he's got quality. We've saw he should be a starter, but in an all-fit Celtic team, I don't think he would be a regular.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with him.
I think that's correct all season. All seasons that's been correct, that James Forrest has been the preferred option.
Yeah.
I just get a whole sense now that Roberts has moved into a new plane, and I get the sense that that Roberts is now getting to the stage where his first name, you know, one of the 4 or 5 names right away that Rodgers will use, Brown, Armstrong, Dembele and him.
Yeah. I'm not having that. No, I don't think he'll be in the starting lineup at the cup final.
Okay.
If Forrest's fit.
If Forrest's fit, Roberts doesn't play. That's what I like about you, Ruffy. Listen, it's only taking you 10 months to start thinking about having arguments with us all, and an opinion now from Ruffy. Fantastic. We've been working hard with him. We've got a quick question for you on a goal scorer. I wonder if you know the answer to this. There's more chat next. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Hugh MacDonald is with us in the studio this evening, our boot-room guest on a Friday as ever. OK, from the early news, let's now switch our attention to the games over the weekend. This is what's on offer as far as our Saturday show to look forward to in the Scottish Premiership. Hamilton Dundee, Inverness, Caley Thistle, Motherwell and Kilmarnock against Ross County. We're on STV2 at 2 o'clock. Hopefully you can join us for that. And you'll also be able to see in the playoffs, Alloa, Brecon, Peterhead against Forfar and Cowdenbeath against East Kilbride. And on the Sunday, we'll look ahead to Celtic against Hearts, Partick Thistle, Aberdeen and St Johnstone against Rangers. So all eyes will be on 2 particular games because it's the last bit to be decided, Hugh, and I'm talking, of course, about Hamilton and Inverness trying to avoid the drop. Hamilton Accies against Dundee, first of all. Just a little bit of news. David Templeton has signed a deal which will take him to the end of next season with the Accies. I thought he scored a good goal that maybe helped the manager make that decision for the Accies. But as far as the team's concerned, this is now really squeaky bum time. Richie Foran's cranked it up, saying that all the pressure's on them.
And all the pressure is on them because I certainly had written Inverness off as a definite relegation team. Good old Ruffy here, to be fair to him, he always said that, you know, as long as we're within touching distance that they could battle. Inverness were so bereft of form and wins that they just couldn't get back. But Hamilton are plummeted as well, you know. I mean, if you're talking about the old cliche about football momentum, we know what momentum is at the moment, where it's gone to, and it's gone to Inverness, Caledonian Thistle. Huge game for Hamilton, absolutely huge game.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be many players on both sides who'll have an easy sleep tonight, you know, thinking about it and everything that goes with it. If they're the team that has to go down, I will keep saying it, and I think you'll agree with me, but I don't think it'll affect Hamilton as much as will Inverness. I think Hamilton are just geared for what they are. You know, if they go down a division, they won't change anything, they won't change the manager, they won't change the structure. They'll just get on with it and hope they can come back up again. So I think Inverness are going to be the biggest losers out of this, but I think Hamilton will be encouraged by the performance in midweek, although losing the goal late on is a bit of a blow. It depends. We've already seen Dundee not really putting in a shift there in midweek. Depends how they are, you know, and it depends what Hamilton can do. You're going to ask what the score is.
No, I'm not. I'm looking.
Yeah, you're going to. I'm about to. Yeah, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. I know you're just going to say who's going to win it.
No, listen. You know the funny thing is, I have to be honest with you, and I'm going to quote my old pal in this, right? Because I frequently, you know, have a wee text with Davy Provan, you know, and. Because you work with certain people, you get to know their style. So the bold Ruffy, who I love dearly, pad, nice things said about them. Hopefully nobody's angry. Bang. Right. There you go. And by the way, you have to drag the bang out of him. So he's been nice about it. I mean, honestly, I mean, Hamilton are in free fall at the moment. They give away goals, and scoring goals is always a problem as well. I don't know how they're going to do it. But I will ask you this, what I think you think the score is going to be shortly. But here's Martin Canning's take on they're cranking it up between the managers. This is his take on Richie Foran.
I think he's doing what you'd expect him to do. He's trying to take the pressure off his own team and off his own players and put it on others, which isn't the case. We've got to go and do our job, go and win the game. So there's no more pressure on us tomorrow than what there was on us on Saturday, and what there was on Tuesday. So for us, it's just the same. We need to go and win the game, and obviously, regardless what what Inverness do, if we win, then everything's still in their hands.
Yeah, absolutely, and they're well used to playing playoffs and that. I mean, there's nothing, I don't think there's an increasing pressure on the Accies. They've got to go and beat Dundee. I didn't see Dundee losing to Inverness. I don't know about you, Hugh.
I didn't either, but it doesn't take much in elite sport for one team to go down. I'm not saying Dundee chucked it or anything like that, but if you're not fighting for your lives, things, just maybe a wee percentage point goes down. In elite sport, that's enough. That's enough to make a difference. I think tomorrow, it wouldn't be a bad bet that both sides at the bottom of the league might win. Because they are the ones that have to win, and I'm talking narrowly. I'm talking that squeaking through. I could see Hamilton getting a result tomorrow.
Yes, so can I. But I'm going to ask you this before we hear from Neil McCann. For both of you on this, who's better placed to win the playoff if they were going to come up against a Dundee United or a Falkirk?
I don't think either of the two of them are, because all right, Inverness are winning games now, but Hamilton aren't winning them, and I think both Dundee United and Falkirk, because of that, I'll fancy against either of the two of them.
See,
whoever wins it.
I think Hamilton Accies are better placed, Hugh.
I think it matters. I think the crucial thing is not so much who finishes in that position in the Premiership, but the Premier League, is who comes through. If Dundee United come through, there's a lot of games on their CV. They've played a lot of games to get there.
Yeah.
If Falkirk come through, I'd fancy them against either team.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. It's an opinion. What kind of...
Not a good one, but it's an opinion.
Listen, we love opinions. That's what drives it on for people to either agree or disagree. You can give us your thoughts, whether you agree with Hugh or Ruffy on this, at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. What type of Dundee is going to turn up against Hamilton Accies? Here's Neil McCann.
I expect a real tough game. Probably showing signs of tiredness just now after going up to Dingwall, not getting much sleep back down the road. But do you know what? Sometimes you take a trip. When we had one of the guys that go up there and do the analysis anyway, but I wanted to go up myself, and it wasn't to see us, get a result for Ross County and knowing we're safe. You just never know, so you have to prepare right. So I'm delighted I made that journey now, because I saw a Hamilton side that were absolutely full at it, full tilt. Should have won the game. Absolutely should have won the game. They had enough chances, so we know that they'll be trying to put us to the sword, and they've got real good quality within their side.
Yeah, I think the gods of luck have deserted Hamilton, if anything. I agree with Neil McCann on that from that game. I mean, they were hitting the post, cleared away. You couldn't make it up. Some of the chances they made.
Yeah, they seem to be fired up for it, and they obviously got the goals at the right time. But I mean, hitting the post, hitting the goalie, get in, you just shake your head, and at the side, there's nothing you can do about it. And then a tremendous strike to win the game. Any other time it could have maybe went by the post. So when you think all these things are going against you, you've got to really start the game well tomorrow, and you've got to score. You've got to get everybody behind you. If they were to go behind, I think they might struggle.
Yeah, okay. What about Neil McCann? Will he take that Dundee job? Here's the latest.
I've had a brief conversation, a very 20-second stuff with the chairman regarding, the conversations will take place after the Hamilton game, and that has always been a pretty consistent message throughout. I need to do my job properly, and that is setting the team up to win games. And then afterwards, once the guys go away for a well-earned break, then I'll sit down with the club. I'll of course sit down with Sky, because as I said to the boys through the written press, Sky have allowed me to come out a job, which I'm contracted to do, to come into this one. So I need to obligate or oblige that same favour almost, and give the honour back to them. I've still got a job to do with Sky. We've got a cup final, but as long as I'm in this job, I have to prepare right, win the game against Hamilton, and then the discussions will take place.
Yeah, okay. 20 seconds is a brief chat with the chairman. I think it might have gone along the lines of, how much is in it?
I think my gut feeling is that's a really good job, Dundee. I think if you're looking in Scotland terms, and Scotland is one of the best jobs in Scotland. I mean, you are looking at potentially and should be a top 6 side, I think.
Yeah.
He's got he's got work to do there. You know, they weren't down the bottom for no reason. But
the stats wouldn't suggest that to me. I know. No. I'm almost certain we're living in the past talking about Dundee as a top 6 side.
But I think, yeah, but potentially they should be. You know, see with the revenue and the just the budget. And I think they've got decent players there as well. I think they've got. I mean, I think there's great potential at Dundee. Still think it's a big club.
Yeah.
If Dundee United come up as well, which is a possibility, it's a fantastic season. I just think Neil McCann couldn't, if he wants to get back into football, he couldn't look for a better job.
Yeah, well, he's got an affinity with them. I'd be gobsmacked if he said goodbye to his Sky salary.
Yeah, I think that's obviously he'll need reassurances for Dundee, whether it's a 4-year deal, whether it's, you know, what budget can I go out and identify the players I want to bring to the club, and how much is the Sky deal.
Who's going to win, Ruffy?
The Sky deal at Dundee.
Hamilton or Dundee?
Well, I don't know what. Oh, Hamilton. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Sky. I'm going to go for a draw.
All that for a draw.
Honestly,
all that for a draw.
A draw.
I'm going to go for Hamilton.
Hamilton to win it.
Yep.
Okay, I'm with you, Hugh. I think Hamilton might win it because that little percentage of putting the tools away. See, just when you think you've got him up there and he's turning into a pundit, back to there you go, a draw. Although it is a prediction, I may add. There's more from Ruffy after this break. You can tell there's tension in the air tonight. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We are discussing the weekend games. You can join us on STV2 at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Hopefully you'll see Hugh MacDonald in the chair alongside Gordon Smith and Alan Ruff. We'll bring you all the goal action, of course, reports from the key games, interviews as well. And we can interact with you too at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Give us your thoughts on your team, anything that's bugging you, or indeed something you're happy with. I think sometimes it's always more difficult to send a tweet or indeed a message about something positive these days, Hugh.
Yeah, it seems to be the angry medium, doesn't it? But I think there's a lot of good positive stuff going on at the moment.
Is there positivity in Inverness against Motherwell? Because Motherwell suddenly have Scott MacDonald heading out the door. Louis Moult doesn't look as if he's going to start tomorrow. Yeah. It looks like a weakened team against an Inverness side with the bit between their teeth now.
Yeah, it looks as if the Motherwell manager is going to play a lot of the young boys. We saw 2 or 3 of them in midweek there. They look good lads for the future. But you're right, you know, I think Inverness have got it now. Yeah, I think that win that they had, they'll go into the game with a lot of confidence. I think there'll be a reasonable crowd for Inverness getting behind them. And yeah, I think they'll win this one. Yeah,
I think both teams down the bottom have got the motivation, the power to win tomorrow, particularly given the opposition will be weakened. You know, so I agree with Alan. Short news. I agree with Alan.
Yeah, I don't mind you agreeing with him. The point here is that you think both of them will win, so Hamilton will just have enough to stay in that playoff place.
And just enough. I mean, I was almost dismissive of Cali, so Hamilton's plunge has changed my views a wee bit, but I still think there's enough about Hamilton just to get a very narrow victory tomorrow.
Yep, you sticking with that, Ruffy?
I'm going to stick with a draw tomorrow, and it'll be Inverness in the playoff.
Yeah, okay. The reason why I was asking you that is if it's a draw for Hamilton Accies, they'll move on to 33 points. And Inverness would just pip them and no more, so it's going to be interesting. The other match and the final one of that bottom end is of course Kilmarnock against Ross County. It's a strange one. There's still no decision on Lee McCulloch. I'm sure they'll sit down at the tail end of the season. I think there are so many things going on in the background at Killie that's probably delayed everything. Although Jordan Jones says that if Lee McCulloch doesn't get the job, he might decide not to sign. You know, he thinks he'll maybe look somewhere else. And always, I love player power.
No,
sign him or I'm off.
Great. I think maybe as well there's a delay in both sides, and I think Lee McCulloch will need a bit of convincing about what he's going to be given next year to do his job. I think Kilmarnock, I think Kilmarnock almost been one of the stories of the season, because remember in the autumn we were all sitting thinking, oh, they're out of it, they're gone, and they pulled clear of it with plenty to spare, So he's done very well there, and Lee Clark before him did well. But I don't think he's going to want to go down the line of, let's have a fire sale of loan players from England. I don't think that's what he wants.
Yeah. The take on a Ross County side, I think Jim McIntyre can once again hold his head up. But I think it was a good few months ago, Ruffy, we were looking and laughing at somebody who had got into that stadium with McIntyre out, which I don't think is... I can't believe anybody would actually do that.
No, I don't either. But they again were like Dundee and everybody else. They were on free fall. They couldn't buy a win either. But now the owner, I read something there that he was saying that okay, we're fed up being in the bottom six. We want top six. And that puts a wee bit of pressure on, obviously, the manager and the players, but he thinks of the money that he's putting into the club they deserve. With the pool of players that Jim's got there, they should be top six.
Well, that's interesting. Jim McIntyre himself is frustrated that they're not in the top six.
Disappointed that we never made top six, but I think it highlights the achievement that we had last season, by winning the cup and getting top six, that you need to keep working really hard to achieve those goals. We've lost a lot of late goals this year that's cost us crucial points. Equally, we have not beaten the teams round about as enough up until this recent spell. And the consistency that we showed at the start of the previous season wasn't there at the start of this season, and ultimately that's what's cost us.
I always think Ross County tend to show their mettle towards the end of the season anyway. The one thing I would say, it would be interesting to see what the spend is for each club based on where they're finishing the table. I think maybe, everybody's got to have ambition. I think maybe Roy's overstepping it there.
Well, I think so. If you look at it, top six, Rangers, Celtic and Aberdeen, you can't see them ever not finishing out as top six.
Yeah,
I think that's a reasonable assumption. That leaves 3 slots. St Johnstone have been perennial. That leaves 2. Then you've got Hearts and Hibs. Are you going to say they're the top 6? That means there's no space in the top 6. That means you've got to knock out a St Johnstone, a Hearts or a Hibs to get into the top 6.
I think Roy McGregor's probably looking and thinking, based on the spend at St Johnstone, maybe that's the place.
Maybe, I think in economic terms it might be, but it's just Tommy Wright, it's not like a fluke that he does this.
Yeah.
Tommy Wright just does it every season. I mean, it's like an amazing consistency. Sometimes he gilds his season with a Scottish Cup or a semi-final here and a semi-final there. This is a bang average season now for St Johnstone. It's incredible to say that.
But the thing about it is that the Ross County owner will be looking at the St Johnstone team and going, their players aren't any better than ours.
Yeah.
Man for man, you would think. So why are they doing it? Why are they doing it and we're not doing it?
Yeah, the one thing that I think maybe kind of raises expectations, Ross County have got a really good goal scorer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take him out of the team, they could be a really different team from what they are now.
The other thing about County as well is that an interesting story about County, and one that's not been really shouted for the rooftops, is their academy, and the academy won the Under-20 Development League the other week there.
Good point.
I think long term they've got really good plans there. I mean, they've got the whole of that area covered up, so maybe he's looking to bring some of them through as well.
Can I suggest one thing before we get your thoughts on the playoffs? If I'm going to put one team forward that I think, based on the evidence of what we've witnessed over the last 2 months, especially news coming out and the way they've played football, I think the next team that should be looking and saying, we are consistently a top 6 side is Partick Thistle.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes there as well. Obviously, last night's result was a bit a disaster, but Celtic have been doing that to everybody. So no, I think there's enough players. I think what Alan's been doing is he's been trying to get as many players on longer term contracts. I think he's nearly got the first team 11 on 2 or 3 year contracts, which is always good, because at the end of every season with Partick Thistle, he was always losing 1 or 2 really good players, and then he's got to go out and find somebody else. So no, I think when they sit back at the end of the season, I think the board and the manager will be comfortable.
Oh, very comfortable with what they're going to do.
Yeah, okay. Who's going to win Alloa Brecon? It's 1-0 at the moment. Elliot Ford got the goal for Brecon. Who's going to win that one?
I still think Alloa, Jim Goodwin say, I think he's done a good strong job there. I think home advantage will pay off for him.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, okay. Peterhead, Forfar.
Forfar for me, I think. I think throughout the season they've been the form side and just got pipped at the end, so I think they'll win it. I'm
going for Jim McInally's men, Peterhead. I thought, you know, they lost a man when they were in a good position against Forfar, so I'm just looking at Peterhead at home.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on Alloa, but I'm with you on Peterhead for that one. And as far as the other match is concerned, Cowdenbeath or East Kilbride, it's 0-0 at the moment.
Yeah, home advantage. You would think Cowdenbeath might, but it's a tragic result. It's a tragic result if it doesn't go for them, and I think that's a result we will be looking at tomorrow. Okay.
Brendan Rodgers picked up the manager of the season for Ladbrokes, the sponsors. Scott Brown was the player of the season. This is what Brendan Rodgers had to say about his captain.
But importantly for me, the performance level on the field has been absolutely sensational. How he's led the team and how he's taken on, you know, the football idea that we've tried to impose onto the team, and he's been a real catalyst of that. You know, I watched him last night when I got home, when I watched the game again, and just his positioning now, the tactical positions he takes up in order to get himself on the ball, you know, the variety of which he can then move freely to create space for himself. And then what he's always probably had, but now, you know, in terms of the structure of the team, how he presses with a real aggression, doesn't need to be jumping in, he anticipates, he blocks, and he really closes people down. So, and that has been consistent through every level that we've played at, whether it's been League Cup, Scottish Cup, League, Champions League, he's been top level.
Yep, Scott Brown winning the player of the season. Well worthy, just briefly.
Yes, I think he is, and I think he's become a better player with better players round about him. I think he's concentrated on what he's good at, and that's why he's won it.
Always helps when you're not injured.
Yep, he's had a great season. There's no doubt about it. I wrote him off in the summer and completely and utterly wrong. My player of the season would still be Scott Sinclair, though.
Okay. Can't argue with you on that. We'll discuss the Scottish Football Writers Player of the Year as well. And in the next part, we'll speak to Ian McGarry. .32 goals in all competitions. You have to be a special player. He really is top drawer.
He's a problem by the 10th of June, if he's in that England side.
Thanks for that, Ruffy. That's reminded me of what we're looking forward to now.
No, that's the kind of quality we're going to be up against, and he's on great form as well, so let's hope
his wee mate might be up beside him on the 10th of June as well, Dele Alli.
Yep, okay. Any good news?
No good news. I think the weather forecast is good for that day.
Okay, don't forget you can see Scotland against England on STV. Stick with us for that. We're really looking forward to it, live from Hampden Park, 10th of June. Okay, 3 games on the Sunday. We heard from Brendan Rodgers on Celtic. Scott Brown winning the player of the season for Ladbrokes, the sponsors. Now it's Celtic against Hearts. Hearts need Celtic like a hole in the head right now. They've had a bust up. Ian Cathro kind of tried to just take the sting out of it, but whether Johnson has a future after this final game, who knows?
Yeah, it would seem unlikely, wouldn't it? Given the not coming to training, etc. It's been a real turbulent, almost calamitous time, hasn't it? I mean, when you think back to Nielsen's last hurrah, and it was Robbie Nielsen's last game was a last hurrah. You know, the fans, echoing that great stadium. Rangers put to the sword, second place in the league. You look at it now.
Yeah,
it's been dramatic, absolutely dramatic, and it's been really, I think, traumatic for Ian Cathro as well.
I'll tell you what he doesn't need, Ruffy, on Sunday. He doesn't need a hammering.
No, he doesn't, but who's to say that's not going to happen the way they're playing just now? Celtic at home, carnival atmosphere. You know, sometimes you get caught in it, sometimes it can be, and you know, I think he'll just be happy to get the season out the road and just have a break, and hope that the supporters don't remember what's just happened in the last games there, and give him a new chance. But I think he'll be judged on the players that he's bringing in.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers on that unbeaten run that Celtic are on.
I think it's an incredible achievement by the team. This journey started back in June of last year, and to arrive at this point with 33 wins and 4 draws, with an opportunity on Sunday in front of a packed out Celtic Park to go through, and most importantly for us to win the game. Be a remarkable achievement, and whatever era it is, whatever league it is, it's all relative, and relatively for us it's been a brilliant team performance up until now.
Okay, Celtic to win or Hearts to shock them?
Celtic to win 2-0.
Celtic to win quite comfortably.
Okay, Pedro Caixinha was speaking at the press conference today, saying that it's going to be a mightily different Rangers next season. They've got to sign off surely with something really positive against St Johnstone.
Yeah, I've said it. If they don't, you know, St Johnstone will be 3 points behind them. And then you talk about budgets and you can talk anything you like, but that's an incredible for St Johnstone to be 3 points. Yeah.
Should the least we expect of Rangers next season when they transform themselves group stages of Europa League?
I still think that's a big call, Peter.
Yeah.
I think they've got a long way to go before they can get there. You know, a lot to do. A lot to do at Rangers.
You're going to hear that on the back page of the papers tomorrow, so that's why I threw it at you. Partick Thistle again. St Johnstone Rangers, who wins?
I think it's a prediction, a draw.
Prediction draw for me.
Okay, Partick Thistle Aberdeen, who wins that one?
I think Thistle might win tomorrow because they're a more than decent side, and Aberdeen might have an eye in the cup final.
2-0 Partick Thistle.
Oh, there you are. No, they can't beat that. I'll go the Dandy Dons to get another win for Derek McInnes and his men. Sorry about that, Alan. Okay, let's look to England now. I mean, we mentioned Harry Kane there. Of course, it was unbelievable. Earlier today, I caught up with Ian McGarry, your man down south, and it was the first question we put to him: Tottenham handing Leicester City a spanking.
It was, I suppose you could say it's not surprising after all the comments that Arsene Wenger made about some teams being on the beach once they're safe. I think Leicester City may well have been somewhere in Mallorca rather than at the King's Power Stadium last night. But no taking away from the fact that what we saw of Tottenham last night, Peter, was what we know how good Tottenham are. I think, and it was said by one leading pundit down here this week, that Tottenham would win the league next season if they were playing at White Hart Lane. And that's a shame, because we've seen how poor Tottenham have been at Wembley. They're playing every home game there next season, and what an exciting side to watch. Personally, I think Pochettino is probably the best coach in the Premier League at this moment in time. And when you think about the level of coaches we have, that's quite some praise. But overcoming the psychological thing that they clearly have about Wembley will be, I think, a big handicap to them in terms of next season's campaign.
Ian, obviously we've got a wonderful English Cup final coming up, 2 great teams in it. If Arsene Wenger wins it, does he stay or does he go?
Ruffy, I think we're now at the point where two things. One, we're really bored of talking about it, but that doesn't mean to say we're not going to talk about it. Secondly, I think it's fairly certain that Wenger will now stay. There has been no indications from contacts, both in the UK, and I mean by that at Arsenal or abroad, that they've actually found someone else to replace him. I think the big sort of issue, if you like, that's going to have to be worked out is Gazidis, the chief executive, clearly has a very different view of Arsenal's future than Wenger does, because he wants to employ a director of football. Wenger very dismissed that out of hand about a week ago, where he said, I don't know what director of football is. Does he direct the traffic? Does he say right wingers go there, left wingers go here? And that was quite kind of pointed in terms of Wenger criticising the chief executive directly. So that's something that has to be sorted out. What I would say is I would not rule out a surprise. I don't think that it's cut and dried Wenger stays. I think they do have a plan B, but it will depend on 1 or 2 more meetings between Wenger and Gazidis if whether or not the manager feels he can stay. Sure, they're still making plans for next season regarding transfers and pre-season and everything else, but that would be normal anyway for any manager leaving. Even someone, you know, like Walter Matsari, who's just been sacked by Watford, would have been already making plans for pre-season and transfers, so I wouldn't read too much into that.
If he does stay, Ian, would the fans get their heads round that?
No. I don't think so, Ruffy. I don't. And we'll see more protests. But then again, as we all know, the great exterior in football is winning matches. So they start next season, they protest because Wenger's still there, then they win the first 7 out of 7 Premier League games, everyone says Wenger's a genius again. So it's very pragmatic, as you know. Personally, I just think that, you know, this is long overdue in terms of the change, and I think a lot of Arsenal fans are getting very, very exhausted of having to have these same conversations again and again with themselves, with on social media, with the club, etc., etc.
90 minutes away, Liverpool are from sort of cementing their place in the Champions League. And I was down in Liverpool recently, and I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of fans not quite convinced yet about Klopp, and some of them are even actually sort of lamenting the departure of Brendan Rodgers. I'm just wondering, are you getting any sense of that?
Yes, definitely, Hugh. Look, the facts speak for themselves. Klopp has done almost exactly the same job in the time he's been there that Brendan did, except Brendan got them to within 4 weeks of the Premier League title. So I think people are looking at Celtic this season, and yes, you know, there is a degree of cynicism or scepticism about Scottish football with regard to English football fans, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and you cannot do any better than Rodgers has done. 2 trophies in the bag, undefeated domestically, obviously he could do the treble. I mean, those figures speak for themselves, and what he's done is revitalise a Celtic team which was, you know, lacking in style or direction, and made them into something quite special, albeit in with the confines of Scottish football. So I think what will be very interesting is, and they should, because they play Middlesbrough on Sunday, Liverpool secure Champions League football next season. Wouldn't it be lovely to see Celtic and Liverpool drawn together at some point, so we could actually have that conversation on the pitch?
That'd be some game. OK, thanks to Ian McGarry. We're almost at an end. Join us tomorrow if you can, STV2 at 2 o'clock. I'll leave you with a bit of tension in the air because I took on Ruffy at tennis today, and it wasn't good for me, Ruffy. I mean, I got absolutely spanked by you, a man who's played tennis regularly and someone who, honestly, I look like a novice next to you.
No, you have to say that you've got to be up for the challenge. You know, when somebody throws it out there, and you have to be initially ruthless. You know, which, as you saw, was competitive is always there, as you can see from the score here.
Well, absolutely. Listen, that's him telling. Oh, that is magnificent, Gurfin. Ruffy, that is priceless. I don't like you. Oh dear. What can you say? Goodbye.